Hi everyone, in this session we'll talk about the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are those drugs which is used to relieve the inflammation. Why it is called the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug? Because in this type of drug there are no steroidal rings. The non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like for example aspirin, paracetamol, etc. Aspirin and paracetamol are the NSAID non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and the steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like cortisone, prednisolone, these are the steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and these the aspirin and paracetamol are the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. In cortisone and prednisolone there are steroidal ring are present. Steroidal ring are present in the steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, but here in the NSAIDs, aspirin and paracetamol, there are no steroidal ring are present. Now here we will talk about the pathophysiology of inflammation. The pathophysiology of inflammation. Pathophysiology of inflammation. Actually, the inflammation are the local response of the body against some injury or some types of infection. These are local response of the body against some injury or some types of infection. Actually, the inflammation are the defense mechanism of the body against some types of infection or some injury. During inflammation, if some injury occur, some infection occur in the cell in some types of tissue, in the cell membrane of the body, there are some phospholipids are present. These phospholipids will be converted into arachidonic acid in the presence of some specific type of enzyme like phospholipase A2 enzyme. This will be converted into in the presence of an enzyme phospholipase A2 enzyme. They will produce the arachidonic acid. Actually, the arachidonic acid are the main precursor for the prostaglandin, and prostaglandins are responsible for the process of inflammation. These are the precursor for prostaglandins. And prostaglandins are mainly responsible for the process of inflammation. This arachidonic acid will produce the prostaglandin, different types of prostaglandins in the presence of two types of enzyme such as cyclooxygenase 1 and cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme. Cyclooxygenase 1 and cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme provide the most important role in the process of inflammation, mainly the cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme. Cyclooxygenase 1 enzyme are the housekeeping enzyme. They will provide the physiological function of the body, and cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme will provide the pathological function of the body. So this arachidonic acid will be converted into, in the presence of two types of enzyme, COX-1 and COX-2 enzyme. They will provide the prostaglandin in the presence of these two types of enzyme. The COX-1 enzyme are mainly responsible, we can write here the cyclooxygenase 1 enzyme, COX-1 enzyme. This COX-1 enzyme will produce the prostaglandins like PGI2 and thromboxane. They will produce from the arachidonic acid some types of prostaglandins such as PGI2 and thromboxane. This prostaglandin will provide the physiological function of the body. They will provide the physiological function of the body. Some physiological function like their effect on GI and GI tract, their effect on GI, they will provide the cytoprotective role. They will provide the cytoprotective function or cytoprotective role. They will provide cytoprotective function. How can they will provide the cytoprotective function? They will increase the mucus and they will decrease the secretion of hydrochloric acid. This is the effect of this prostaglandin towards the GI and kidney. They will also provide the cytoprotective vasodilation. Cytoprotective vasodilation towards the kidney. And here another thromboxane are also present. So as we know that the thromboxane are the they will provide the platelet aggregation. Platelet aggregation. Thromboxane are responsible for the platelet aggregation in the blood. So in the bleeding they will helpful. They will provide the aggregation, so they will stop the bleeding. So the COX-1 enzyme are physiologically active. They will provide the physiological function of the body. And other are the COX-2 enzyme. This COX-2 enzyme will provide the pathological function and they will provide the inflammation with the help of prostaglandins. Now we will talk about the COX-2 enzyme. This is the COX-2 enzyme, cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme. Cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme will also form the prostaglandins, some types of prostaglandins from the arachidonic acid, because the arachidonic acid are the main precursor of prostaglandins. So COX-2 enzyme will produce from the arachidonic acid some prostaglandin like PGE2, PGI2, etc. So this prostaglandin will produce inflammation. So this prostaglandin will cause the inflammation, but how the COX-2 enzyme are activated? When some injury occurs, some infection occur, some types of chemical are released such as carcinogen, interleukin, etc. When this carcinogen, interleukin, some other chemical are released at the site of infection, at the site of injury, they will activate the COX-2 enzyme. When COX-2 enzyme are activated, they will produce the prostaglandin from the arachidonic acid such as PGE2 and PGI2, and they will cause the inflammation. And the area will be the inflammatory area will become red. Redness will be occur, swelling will be occur, and pain will be occur at the inflammatory area. So this is the pathophysiology of the inflammation. Now how the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs work against the inflammation. The main mechanism of action of anti-inflammatory drug NSAIDs are they will block the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. Some are specifically block the COX-1 enzyme, the COX-2 enzyme, but some are block both of the COX-1 and COX-2 enzyme. The main mechanism of action of NSAIDs, they will block the COX enzyme. When they block the COX enzyme, such as when they block the COX-2 enzyme, they will block, they will not produce the prostaglandin, which is responsible for the process of inflammation. So the inflammation will not be occur. The inflammation will be stopped. And some NSAIDs are block the COX-2 enzyme as well as the COX-1 enzyme. So this is the main pathophysiology of the inflammation and the mechanism of action of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Mainly the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs block the COX-2 enzyme. When they block the COX-2 enzyme will not produce the prostaglandin from the arachidonic acid, which is responsible for the process of inflammation. So the inflammation will be relieved with the help of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory.